Hello, TYV. It's Niko, and today I'm here with Vikaas, and we're going to be talking about vaccine mandates in Europe.
Hello, invaders. It's Vikaas here, and again, as we mentioned before, I'm here with Niko. So this thing about vaccine mandates, it won't be a debate like the common ground video from before, but we'll rather have a constructive conversation here. Niko will present evidence, and I'll tell my take on it. So to establish perspectives, he's not too fond of vaccine mandates, but I'm more pro-vaccine myself, so we'll see how it'll play out and how we think. So would you like to take it from there, Niko, and show us your evidence and what you believe?
Yeah, I'll start off. So first, I'm going to talk about what's going on in Europe. So as you know, Europe's been hit pretty hard by the vaccine, especially certain countries like Italy has been hit pretty hard. And
you mean like COVID?
Yeah, with coronavirus. That's what. You know. So the problem really is the vaccine mandates. There are three nations we're going to be discussing in this video, and we're going to be discussing these three specifically because of what they're doing regarding vaccine laws. The first one we're going to be talking about is Germany and how they're almost in a way attempting to segregate unvaccinated from vaccinated, and then Austria, who is attempting to pass a bill currently that would force every single adult in the country to get a vaccine, and then the third will be Greece, who has already enforced a bill which is going to force every single adult over 60 years old to get the vaccine, or else they'll have to face fines. So first, we're going to be talking about Germany. Currently, as of now, Germany is trying to get all their health workers to get vaccines, or else obviously they get fired. And what they're also trying to do is they're trying to, I think they already have the law passed to segregate vaccinated and unvaccinated. So basically, they're banning unvaccinated people from all non-essential activities such as like movie clubs, bars, and all that stuff. They'll have signs outside that say like vaccinated people only, or like unvaccinated stay out, or something like that. And almost all non-essential areas of activities like social gatherings and whatnot.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Vikaas?
So for healthcare workers, I think it's pretty important. Like healthcare is something that's like very essential. It's a life or death situation, and it's probably best to have workers that are vaccinated. And it makes perfect sense to have healthcare mandates, in my opinion. Would you agree, or like, what do you think?
For the healthcare workers, I do agree that they should all be vaccinated. However, for the other one, I don't think that's okay. I don't think you can do that to someone. So like, that's just not right.
You mentioned segregation. I don't think it's necessarily segregation, as it's not a characteristic that's like unchangeable, but like I think it might be going too extreme. Like I think what we can do is you either show vaccination or you show recent test results, right? Like take COVID tests.
Yeah, test results. That's better.
Test results, and perhaps masks too, like masks for the unvaccinated, and COVID test results to go to like venues like bars, clubs, or movie theaters, because they're unessential things.
Yeah, they're unessential, but are you still talking?
Yeah, so I think it's like, so I think maybe like saying that no vaccinated allowed at all is like maybe a little too extreme. So, but I think there should be some precaution taken with unvaccinated individuals, such as like letting them have masks or them having COVID testing. And I don't think it's too extreme for that, like, what do you think? Like,
here's the other thing. I think that's actually a pretty good idea, because you can't just go up to someone and say, oh, because of your personal choice, we're not going to let you live a life with any form of leisure at all. That's, in my opinion, almost inhumane, that you're restricting people of their right to, be happy and go do like, fun things because of a personal choice they have. So I do think, the coronavirus, like recent tests, I guess, or maybe a test from at least 1 week ago showing that, hey, I haven't been vaccinated, but I don't have coronavirus. Here's a card to prove it. Or, wearing masks. I guess that will maybe encourage people to take the vaccine, but not force them, because banning people from all those leisurely activities and all non-essential activities will force them to get the vaccine. That's basically forcing.
Sounds a little too extreme, but I guess I can kind of see why, right? It's like not like thing is like, as opposed to segregation as we had in the South, like with vaccinated and unvaccinated, like no offense to the unvaccinated, but like they present somewhat of a better risk. But I don't think we should completely ban them from all facets of public life, especially when you have alternate options like testing. So that's like my take on it.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think, yeah, sure, maybe I wouldn't say there needs to be almost all restrictions placed on people without the vaccines. Maybe in certain places they'll have to wear masks. Not everywhere, I guess, but certain places, yeah, sure, I guess. But I guess we've talked about Germany enough. Now, do we go on to Austria?
Sure, let's go to Austria.
I think Austria has gone a bit far because they're getting desperate. They say because their coronavirus cases have gone up like crazy. Mm-hmm. So they are the first Western country to attempt to imply forced vaccines. Sorry, for every. So I don't know if I don't think they passed it yet because there would be major protests probably if they did. They have not yet. They're currently trying to get passed, and I think they have. It's just not enforced yet. What they want is they want every single adult in Austria to forcefully take the vaccine. In my opinion, I think that is way too far and that they need to be way lighter on the people. That's too much for the people because there are obviously certain people who don't want to get the vaccine or believe they can't get it for certain reasons, and you cannot just force them to get it. That's very inhumane.
I feel like I know like with adults with cancer or certain problems like pregnancy, it's kind of too far to suggest that everyone should get it. There should at least be stipulations for people with pregnancy or I guess certain cancer or certain disorders that don't allow them to get vaccines. And this bill, like, what's the punishment if you don't get the vaccine, Niko? Like, does it say anything? Or?
I haven't found that yet, actually. Do you want me to try to pull it up now?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know, but I think it probably is the same with Greece, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know if they've released anything yet. Let's see what they've said here. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's just if you don't get it, you have to get. Oh yeah. Also, Monday they're doing this is also another thing I forgot to mention. There on Monday, starting tomorrow, there will be a nationwide lockdown. What do you think about that?
Like, I think lockdowns are fair, right? Because like if you think about it, it's an effective way to control the spread. And lockdowns, it isn't like you're enforcing it against one people. It's like just a general way to flatten the curve. So like I think a lockdown is okay.
Yeah, lockdown is okay.
I think it's all right. Yeah, lockdown.
Personally for me, it's depending on how far it is, on how long it is. Sorry, how long.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I'm.
I know, like I know, like in New Zealand, right? You know, like I know lockdowns work there effectively. So like, I think a lockdown wouldn't be too bad an idea. And if it's like an informed populace, I think it'll go along well, and it could work in Austria's favor a lockdown. However, I don't think you should be fining every adult who doesn't get a vaccine. But I guess there should be some stipulations and like some incentive to get vaccines. And perhaps they could like remember like what I said for Germany's bill, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, they probably like do the same thing, like show vaccination proof or show COVID testing.
Well, in place of the vaccination?
Yeah, for unvaccinated, like they should either like show COVID testing proof or like and they should mask up. So they should do the same in Austria, I think. Like that if they want to like go to like these types of events, they should also be able I think Austria should follow like Germany's example, minus like completely barring unvaccinated people from attending events.
Completely barring them is too far.
Yeah.
But obviously
but the idea of testing and masking, that's reasonable. I think Austria should just follow that.
Yeah, it's good. That's all right.
Yeah, so what's your take on lockdown you said, Niko? Like you're
about lockdown, what I was saying was depending on how long it is, for example, if it's like maybe let's say a week, that's gonna be a bit hard on certain people, depending on how they are. But I think just so it's gonna be it's a nationwide, basically in a way, total lockdown. So no one will leave their homes for a whole week. That's gonna make sure a lot of coronavirus doesn't spread. But I mean, we got to be careful with this type of things. That's a whole week where the nation, in a way, just shuts down. You know, that could affect them greatly. It doesn't seem like much, but a whole 7 days of nothing it could do a lot to a nation. But I think, let's say if it's 2 weeks, I feel like a 2 week straight total lockdown is way too long for the whole country. But
let's say if the 2 week lockdown worked, I think New Zealand had a 2 week lockdown and it worked fine for them, and they haven't had a COVID case. They haven't had bad COVID cases like since that lockdown for a while.
Okay, because my only bad opinion on it is like, you know, what if you spend this whole 2 weeks preparing for this big lockdown? You know, it's in the last 2 weeks, so we're gonna kill the coronavirus cases, and then they just spike back up not too long, and we gotta do it again. People are gonna get angry if you have to constantly keep on doing these lockdowns. You know.
Yeah, and I guess like that's sort of an impetus for the vaccine, right? Like, I think vaccines could be used as I think lockdowns could be used as a tool to like, I guess it's not directly forcing populace, but it would kind of like, I guess, influence them to get the vaccine because like it's either take the vaccine and take the shot or get lockdowns once in 2 months or something. So
I don't know. That's a bit messed up to me. In a way, pressuring people to get the vaccine by forcing them inside of their homes. That's kind of crossing a bit of a line for me. So I guess like maybe if Austria did like a week lockdown, that'd be okay. Like, but not very often, not like once every 2 months or something. That's a lot of time. That's
obviously not that. Like I just think like having a lockdown whenever there's like decent amount of cases, right? Like I don't know how fast transmission rates are in Austria, but let's say if like there's like 1,000 cases like every once in 3 months, I think then it would be reasonable to have a lockdown period in those 3 months, right?
Not what do you mean? Like a week lockdown period?
Yeah, like 1 week.
If there was 1,000 cases per 3 months,
maybe not 1,000.
That's not too much, right? That's not that much.
Maybe.
That's not that much now.
What would you say is like if there's like a large quantity of cases like in
what 3 months?
Yeah, and then like you would find a lockdown there reasonable, right? Or
depending on the numbers, yeah. I mean, if it gets really bad, like if it's starting to get really serious, and hospitals are starting to fill up, and the health workers are getting stressed, then I think of a lockdown for a short period of time could be necessary, only in very strict circumstances. Really, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I guess we've covered Austria and their forced vaccines.
Yeah.
How do you want to cover the foundation?
I think a way to avoid lockdowns is in general is just like I guess enforce masks. Are you fine with like enforcing masks?
Not in every single place on the country, but certain areas, yeah, obviously there.
Like, do you support like mask mandates at schools, for example?
I mean, well, we've been wearing masks for a long time at school, at Vikaas.
Yeah.
And I kind of want that to end since it's almost becoming a 1 second. Hold up. It's almost becoming kind of like a normal. It's. Sorry, I got a phone call, so sorry. But basically, what I was saying was like, it's becoming kind of unnatural. The vaccines and not vaccines, the masks in school. I don't really like it because first of all, sometimes it makes my face uncomfortable. Second, we've almost gone no longer to identifying people by their entire face, rather by just like, just this part of their face.
Yeah, but like, I think it's necessary because like cases are kicking back up. Like Chester County's high transmission rates. So, like, I do think like mask mandates are necessary. Like, even if it's uncomfortable, right? I agree it's a little uncomfortable, but like, if you look at the net gain and net losses, like, I think mask mandate is reasonable. It's not like too extreme. It's just a simple piece of cloth, in my opinion. And additionally, it does have some benefits. Like everyone having masks on has benefits.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I always say, you got to stay 6 feet apart from each other, social distancing, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. They say some people are saying that the masks will only work if you social distance, but we're not social distancing at school.
No, I think like it's social distance without a mask.
Because at school we have our masks on, yet in the hallways we're still like cramped like sardines, running through the hallways, like barging up the stairs. And I see people hugging in the hallways all the time, and sometimes I even am walking in the halls, and I see people don't even have their masks on. And sometimes I actually myself have done little experiments. I've actually, because people are like, we strictly enforce the mask policy in school. Yet sometimes I've actually just taken my mask off in the hall and walked around like during my like lunch or something, just to see if anyone would care. And so many teachers walked by and security guards walked by and they never even noticed or cared.
Like, you would think it's reasonable, right? Like, because there's nothing really wrong with masks, in your opinion, right? Like, enforcing mask mandates. Because, like, think about it. I think social distancing measures were if you didn't wear masks, I'm pretty sure.
And no, they were with masks as well. They were with masks as well.
Maybe, yeah.
No, they were. I remember. They said you had to be 6 feet apart and wear a mask.
Could be, yeah. But either way, like, you do agree that, like, it's having mask mandates much more reasonable than having COVID cases and having mass lockdowns. Do you agree, or?
I guess having masks is more reasonable than lockdowns, but I don't want to have the mask forever. I don't want to wear masks in school next year. That's a goal of mine here.
Yeah, but the only thing, like, only way we'll get that is if we have an incentive to stop the disease. Like, the only way is, like, so far, like, scientists have said, like, there's only, like, a few ways to stop disease, right? Like, you get vaxxed, you have a lockdown and hope it goes away, or you use masks. It's like, we need to, like, follow one of those three strategies if we want to avoid disease cases.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the near future, because I know a lot of people are getting vaccinated in America. What's the number? Like, is it 81% of people who've got adults who gotten vaccinated in the U.S.?
Possibly, yeah.
And that number will go up with time. I believe we just need to give everything some time. Like, more time will pass, and there will be people who come out of this whole pandemic unvaccinated. There will be people who come out of it vaccinated, a lot more people. And eventually it will end soon. And when that ends, the masks will come off. And in fact, I even heard that the new governor of Pennsylvania, I think, is it still Tom Wolf who's the governor?
I think there's an election going on, but Tom Wolf is still governor.
I know that the mask mandate has in fact ended in some schools and is going to be ending here soon, I think, which I am excited for, to return back to 100% normal.
But that would only happen if, like, there's a highly vaccinated population, though.
I just don't want masks to become the new normal,
Fair.
I want to live, I wouldn't say 100% normal life, but I want to live a life where, I don't just look at everyone through a mask. That's just not, I don't know why that just says, it makes me uneasy, living a life where everyone's face is covered.
Yeah.
So I guess now we go on to the next country, the final part of the video.
Go on to Greece, your home country.
That's right, the homeland right there. Glory to Hellas. So anyway, basically now we're going to go into the final country, which is Greece, and their vaccine mandates, which they've done all with Austria's. And so the reason it's different from Austria is because Austria hasn't actually enforced the mandate yet. They've just really been talking about it. Greece has enforced it and is currently pushing on about it. And that mandate for Greece is that every single adult in the country who is over the age of 60, because as we know,
it's practically like senior citizens.
Yes, it's targeted towards senior citizens. Everyone who is 60 years old or over has to get the vaccine, no matter what. It's like, all right, at this point, you have to do it. You can choose not to if you're a senior citizen. However, there are certain consequences. One minute, if you'll excuse me. Sorry. So those consequences are only one. And I think the consequence would be a bit brutal to certain families. And that consequence is, if you do not get the vaccine and you are 60 years old or over, you will be fined 100 euros every month. That's the current mandate. There's no mandate for anyone under 60. It's 60 or older. That's the current mandate. What do you think about that, Vikaas?
So I guess my thing is, like, older people are more statistically likely to be grouped in homes together, right? Like,
senior citizen homes, yeah. And they're more vulnerable to coronavirus, which is, I guess, why this law is passed.
Mm-hmm. And I think encouraging vaccines among the elderly population is good because it spreads the disease. But I don't know fully about the fines. I think there should be some sort of incentive to get people to get vaccinated, but I'm not fully sure if fines are the way to go. Or I think, like, there should be a solution where there's an incentive for vaccination without, like, forcing people to pay fines, no?
Yeah. I think paying fines is, certain people will be okay with that. I guess you'd say richer individuals who are still making an income, maybe through passive or, through, I guess you'd say, direct income at like 60 or older, who will just stay unvaccinated and go, I don't care, I'll take the fine, whatever. But there are some who may be impoverished and still don't want to get the vaccine. And obviously they're forced to now because they can't afford losing 100 euros a month from what salary they have, So I do think it is pretty brutal attempting to force the vaccine upon people like this, because I know, like, well, because it is basically a mandatory vaccine. If you don't get it, you'll have to face 100 euros a month until you get the vaccine, which I do think is pretty brutal in my opinion. And I know soon in Athens there will be protests about this, as there are in protests in Athens about basically everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, then of course, if one I know the people of Athens, especially the youth, are always rebellious and always rioting. So if I think at this point, keeping it to the elders, like 6 year older, I think that's fine. Honestly, I don't think forced vaccinations with the punishment of losing money is good. Obviously, I think like we said for Germany and the other place of Europe, maybe like unvaccinated individuals who are 6 year older had to wear a mask to certain areas.
I think unvaccinated individuals in general should wear like masks.
In certain areas, yeah, in certain areas. I don't think they should have to wear them everywhere now, since I know the cases have gone down substantially in certain areas. But in certain places, like I guess areas where like medicine is happening, or maybe in some cases schools, or I guess like government buildings, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But not every single area, like the grocery store, or maybe certain restaurants. I think you should lift the vaccine, the mask mandate.
Maybe grocery stores should keep them up, but like maybe public parks and like outdoor places don't need them.
Oh, obviously outdoor. No, you wouldn't have to need a mask, in my opinion. Yeah. And for restaurants, I think the consumers should probably not have to wear masks, since they take it off at the table anyway. They only keep it on for just walking in. Yep. And I know obviously they're not going to vaccinate the youth. They're not going to force vaccinate the youth in Greece, because that would cause way too many problems and riots and other things. So they're not going to do that. But I hope they don't raise the fines. And so far in Greece, there's been no problems with this new vaccine mandate. I think everything should turn out okay there. I know Greece is actually lagging behind in vaccines from other countries in Europe, because I know a lot of people there don't actually like the vaccine and don't care about it. I know people who do as well. Yeah. Like my cousin Niko in Greece, I was talking to him about it. He already got, he got everything you need for the vaccine. He said that the people who are like those crazy skeptics who are like, oh, Bill Gates is going to activate the super microchip that will cause your head to explode in the vaccine. He calls them people who can't get their head out of their asses and think they know more than the doctors. So yeah, it's an interesting debate in Greece, and he says he sees.
We got to bring cousin Niko on.
I should bring Niko on. Yeah, it's probably late in Greece, or he's probably studying or something right now. Yeah. But yeah, bring him on might be fun one day. But
would.
Anyway, what else do you think, Vikaas?
Before we wrap this up, I think we kind of like discussed the solution, right? Like for either you show a vaccination card, or like you
put a mask,
get masks and show test results.
Yeah, I think the test results is probably one of the best choices, since I know in Greece they are doing that for citizens, like citizens who don't have the vaccine, all like people like me who don't have the vaccine. And I'm going to be going to Greece. I was nervous because I thought I would have to take the vaccine in order to go, see my family in Greece. However, I was told by many people by certain people in my family, like my uncle who doesn't have the vaccine and who did go to Greece, that all you really have to do is just show a test card. Yeah, and wear a mask in the plane, and you're okay.
I also recommend getting the vaccine, but like,
I can see why you recommend it to certain people, yeah.
But like, if you're really skeptical and really concerned about the vaccine, maybe then like at least show test results and wear masks. That's my take.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the best and most peaceful options. First of all, the people won't be too aggressive. Sure, that the anti-maskers will go insane. Obviously,
no one can do them. But then no one really listens to them, I guess.
Some people listen to them, and sometimes they riot. It's not good. But the test cards won't really bother many, and those who are bothered by it will probably just say, okay, I'm getting the vaccine, be over with it. Yeah. I maybe get the vaccine later on in time. I don't know, really, the only reason I haven't really gotten is I know the FDA's approved it. But I just still want to wait some time. I feel like 2 years for a vaccine to be out is a little bit early for me.
The reason it's like got out is because coronavirus is commonly in bats and other animals, right? So like scientists have already like found RNA-based solutions for this, and they just needed to adapt it to like more human conditions, and so that's why it was done so fast. And there's also like a lot more funding for this one. Like international government support and funding. And that's the main reason why it got out too quick, was because of funding and because we've already like had stuff in the periphery that we give to like animals that have other coronaviruses.
Yeah. Well, I see that. I still will think about getting the vaccine though.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not 100% going to get it, but maybe who knows? Maybe I'll walk out of this pandemic with it or without it. But I can say this. All I'll say is I've just I've been around places. Like I went to from the start of this pandemic to where we are right now. I have been across, I think, a solid probably 15 U.S. states. I drove to and from Arizona and back. I flew to Alaska, and I drove from here to Massachusetts and back. And I drove to all those different countries, and not countries, all those different states. I flew on 3 consecutive flights to Alaska, 3 consecutive flights back, and I drove all across the country, and I never got it once. Oh. And I even drove in Arizona when it was when Arizona was declared last year. It declared a massive state of emergency, and it was a red zone, which meant that transmission rates were almost at their highest.
It could be because like, in Arizona, like you're mostly probably seeing Grand Canyon and more natural stuff, whereas
yeah, I was in Arizona the entire time, actually, in Grand Canyon. I was at the Grand Canyon the entire time.
And that could be why, like, you're more in nature as opposed to going to bars and restaurants where you'll be in close proximity to individuals.
No, we stayed in Arizona for like 4 days, though. I mean, we went around to certain restaurants and areas. And there were people there were the good groups of people in the Grand Canyon, and almost no, even though it was declared a red zone, there was almost no one in the canyon who actually had their masks on. And same with Alaska, there was almost little to nothing when it came to masks there.
Yeah, it could be luck too, but
one restaurant owner, there's a Greek guy, his name is Bobby. He's like super paranoid against the vaccines. He's one of those like super ultra Republican guys. He was talking with us, and when I asked him if he was going to get the vaccine, he's like, never in my life am I ever getting the vaccine. He's like, if they want to give me the vaccine, they're going to have to come into my house and stab me for it. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Very interesting character that guy was. But yeah, I think this sums up the video about forced vaccine mandates in Europe.
Yep. I enjoyed this conversation, Niko.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I enjoyed this conversation that we had.
I enjoyed it too.
And I hope you guys at home enjoyed it as well.
That's right. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.